Hello and welcome. I'm Sima Katauka and you're watching the World Report on News 6 World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he will send the United States an updated plan for Ukraine. He has also said that he wants to discuss Ukraine's restoration as part of the peace plan preparations. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the country could hold elections within 60 to 90 days if the US and Europe provide security guarantees. He has added that Kyiv would move to change the law once those guarantees are secured. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent spoke with Ukraine's Prime Minister discussing expanding the country's ability to purchase American LNG. He has also highlighted US President Donald Trump's commitment to lasting peace in Ukraine. US President Donald Trump has said that consumer prices in the United States are coming down tremendously. He has criticized Democrats, calling their concerns over the cost of living a political hoax. Chinese Defense Ministry cites annual joint strategic patrol with Russia after South Korea has said that aircraft did not violate airspace as two Chinese and 7 Russian jets. He has further stated that China and Russia had carried out their 10th joint strategic patrol in the airspace above the East China Sea and Western Pacific. US has backed Japan and has criticized China for the first time for aiming radars at Japanese military aircraft near Okinawa, escalating tensions following Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's comments involving Taiwan. However, China has accused Japan of disrupting its naval training exercises as both sides present clashing accounts of the incident. Cambodian Information Minister Net Pektra has stated that about 54,550 Cambodian residents have fled their homes for safe shelters, as border conflict with Thailand has entered a third day, while Cambodian Defense Ministry spokesperson has said that 7 Cambodian civilians were killed in the conflict. According to reports, Rwanda-backed M23 rebels have entered the key eastern DRC city of Uvira, prompting security concerns. More than 30,000 people have fled to Burundi as the group calls for a buffer zone. Now for this hour, we start with Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he plans to send the United States revised proposals in the near future on ending Russia's war with Ukraine, after meeting with European allies to strategize on their next steps. Zelensky has also emphasized that Kyiv wants to discuss the restoration of Ukraine as part of peace plan preparations with the US. Meanwhile, he has also noted that recent Russian strikes on Ukrainian energy infrastructure show Russia's unwillingness for peace talks. According to him, the United States has told Kyiv that it wants realistic security guarantees for the war-hit country as part of any US-backed peace deal. Now for this discussion, we welcome Professor Vasilin Popovsky. He's a professor and Vice Dean of Jindal Global Law School, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us again. Good to see you. Professor, what do you think, what alternative or changed proposals has Ukraine sent to US now?
Yes, Ukraine sent its position on the initial plan drafted by United States, and obviously some of the points were unacceptable. Among those, the territorial concessions. It cannot be done. Ukraine cannot concede any territory. It's against its own constitution, but it's also against international law. International law doesn't permit any territorial changes by force. What Russia wants is effectively violation of international law, violation of every principle of the United Nations Charter. This is unacceptable not only for Ukraine, but for every single member of the United Nations, and these are 193 countries in the world. by the way, including Russia and China and everybody else. So obviously this is what the new proposals are, deleting what is unacceptable in Ukraine and what is unacceptable in international law, and continuing the dialogue with reasonable proposals, for example, on the security guarantee for Ukraine, how the arrangements in Europe will develop after the war are very important issues, and these need to be discussed, but only together with Ukraine and together with the European partners. So in other words, any deal between Trump and Putin behind the scene is a no-go, is a non-starter. Well, they are trying to bribe each other. Russians are promising some business deals to Donald Trump, some money to Steve Witkoff, some access to the Arctic Sea, some energy sources in Siberia, and we don't really know why, what exactly. But this looks as a very nasty business deal that Americans and Russians are trying to play behind the back of the Ukrainians. And that's absolutely not acceptable. Ukraine and all the European partners make clear Ukrainian territory is not for bargain. Its security is not for bargain. And simply Donald Trump must understand that he cannot do deals behind the Ukrainians' back. Effectively, what he says is very funny, because Donald Trump wants to pay 0 penny to Ukraine, and he denies any assistance to Ukraine. But on another hand, when it comes to taking part of the cake after the peace, he wants to be first to sit on the table and to grab as many billions as he wants. That doesn't work. That's silly, that's ridiculous. Donald has no power here to influence the decision if he continues the same way as with the 28 points plan.
Great. With that, I would like to thank Professor Veselin Popovsky for joining us today and sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, we stay on this topic. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Ukraine could hold elections within 60 to 90 days if the United States and Europe provide security guarantees. Speaking to reporters, Zelensky has said that he's ready for elections, stressing that guarantees could include weapons, air defense, and sanctions if needed. He has also added that once the guarantees are secured, he would ask Parliament to prepare proposals to change the law and allow voting. Zelensky's remarks mark a shift from his previous stance of holding elections only after the war ends, as martial law currently bans voting. He has said that Ukraine is revising the U.S. peace plan along with 2 documents on security guarantees and reconstruction, which will likely be sent to the U.S. this week. Zelensky has also emphasized on the need for international support to secure a democratic vote. Now, for this discussion, we welcome back Professor Veselin Popovsky. He's a professor and vice dean at Jindal Global Law School, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Professor, for staying with us. Now, why do you think a sudden change of stance on Zelensky's side about, first his stance was that they shouldn't, or Ukraine cannot have any election until the war ends, and now why do you think he has changed his stance? And also, what are the risks that are involved while to hold an election while a country is fighting such a big war?
Yes, during the war it's very difficult to organize elections logistically. If bombs are falling and electricity is cut, what elections can we talk about? And Zelensky is absolutely right. Give us security, stop shelling my cities, get those murderers out of our country, and we will do elections next day. There is no problem with elections. There is no problem with legitimacy of the Ukrainian government and President Zelensky if the war stops tomorrow. Absolutely not. That's the message, very clear. Stop the war, stop shelling my people, stop killing civilians in big cities, and we will do elections immediately. I don't need to worry about my power. That's the message Zelensky makes here, which is exactly the opposite of Putin. Putin wants to stay in power forever. Donald Trump wants to stay in power forever. Ukraine is a democratic country. He doesn't want the same president forever. Ukraine changed 6 times presidents during the term of Vladimir Putin. Ukraine is a democratic country. It doesn't worry about elections, about democracy, about rule of law, because it is a democracy. It is a country ruled by law. And Zelensky may win, he may not run. The future will be there. The Ukrainian people will decide who is the next president. It will not be a dictator grabbing power like Putin and like Trump. It's very simple. Ukraine is a very different story from Russia and from United States for that matter. These are, and when they talk about corruption in Ukraine, wait a minute. How about the corruption in Russia? How about Navalny, who exposed the corruption in Russia and ended up being in prison and poisoned and killed? How about the corruption in the United States? Donald Trump effectively wants to enrich his circle and his family with every deal he makes. Let's talk about corruption in Russia and United States and stop talking about corruption in Ukraine, because the corruption in Ukraine is minimal, 100 times less than what happened in Russia and in United States. And in Ukraine, every single corruption is exposed, transparent, investigated, and all the measures are taken. That's simple.
100%, yes. Thank you for bringing Navalny up in our conversation. Professor, if there is election, who else is the candidate other than Zelensky?
Well, it will be democratic election. There will be other candidates. Somebody like Andriy Yermak, who honorably resigned a few days back, could be a candidate. Somebody like Zaluzhny, who was an excellent Minister of Defense and Foreign Ministers, and he's now an ambassador in London. There are plenty of excellent Ukrainians who defended their country over the last 4 years. Every one of them will be as good as Zelensky. So there is no point to stick to Zelensky here. Zelensky may decide not to run even and remain the hero of the century by defending Ukraine over the last 4 years. He may decide to run and win because his popularity is highest ever because of the strong stand in defense of Ukrainian people and Ukrainian land for the last 4 years. Ukrainians will decide that. We don't really need to worry about. We don't need really to speculate and ask questions. Ukrainians are freedom-loving people, democracy-loving people. They will elect the next president. It could be Zelensky, it could be Yermak, it could be Zaluzhny, and any of those will do an excellent job for the future of Ukraine.
And going back to our first discussion, some of our guests have seen these ceasefire deals or as business deals indeed. Why do you think so? And you've also mentioned the envoys, making deals with Russia on rather maybe deep sea mining, etc. Why do you think Trump did not send any diplomat? Instead, he sent, his close personal life's close allies like Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner?
Well, because Trump is the most corrupted president in the history of the United States. He wants money. The answer is very easy here. He wants to make money out of Ukraine, out of the war. He's not interested in any peace. He's not interested in stopping the killing of civilians. All he wants is not to pay a penny to Ukraine now, but to take the biggest share of any agreement afterwards. And that's why he sent the business people and not the diplomat, because he doesn't understand the difference between peace negotiations and business transactions. Trump wants billions out of Russia and out of Ukraine. And that's why he deals with that not as a peacemaker, but as a corrupted president who wants billions out of this for himself and for his family. Let's state it very clear. So how can we expect Donald Trump to deliver peace if he's a corrupted, incompetent, narcissistic criminal? He was convicted already by courts in the United States for committing crimes, and he is not a peacemaker. He wants only to grab as much billions as he can from Russia and Ukraine. That is Donald Trump. And similarly, Vladimir Putin is exactly the same crook who wants billions and nothing else. They think about money. They don't think about stopping killing civilians. That's very clear for everybody in the world. And this is why the Europeans and Ukrainians are trying to protect their interests. They will try to protect the morals and the ethics of international relations and trying to live in a world which is not the rule of the jungle, where every statement Trump makes is that wrong Ukraine is weak. But that's the rule of the jungle. We are in the 21st century. We have rule of law. We have United Nations. We have international norms. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to thank Professor Veselin Popovsky for joining us today and sharing that insight throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now we stay in the region. Pope Leo has warned that seeking peace in Ukraine without including Europe is unrealistic, speaking after meeting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at Castel Gandolfo. The pontiff has emphasized Europe's unity and its crucial role in security guarantees. The Pope has also criticized aspects of the U.S. peace plan, saying it risks altering the long-standing transatlantic alliance and could undermine cooperation between Europe and the United States in resolving the conflict. Let's listen into what the Pope has shared.
Penso che il ruolo dell'Europa è molto importante e l'unità dei paesi europei è veramente significativo, specialmente in questo caso, no? Cercare un accordo di pace senza includere l'Europa nelle conversazioni, diciamo, non è realista. La guerra è in Europa e penso che le garanzie che si cercano anche di sicurezza oggi e nel futuro, l'Europa deve formare parte. Purtroppo non tutti lo capiscono così, però penso che c'è un'opportunità qui molto grande per i leader di Europa di unirsi e di cercare insieme soluzioni. I'd rather not comment on that. I haven't read the whole thing. I think, unfortunately, some of parts of it that I have seen make a huge change in what was for many, many years a true alliance between Europe and the United States. The remarks that are made about Europe, also in interviews recently, I think are trying to break apart what I think needs to be a very important alliance today and in the future.
Now we move on to our next news. U.S. President Donald Trump has addressed America's affordability concerns at a campaign rally in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania, saying that the prices have come down tremendously. He has moved to reassure Americans frustrated by high living costs and dismiss Democrats' criticism over inflation as a hoax. The event was a shift from his usual arguments about affordability away from White House briefings and social media posts into a more energetic campaign setting. Let's in fact listen into what Trump has shared.
We're dealing with bad people, and the word affordability is the exact same thing. And I can't say affordability hoax because I agree the prices were too high, so I can't call it a hoax because they'll misconstrue that. But they use the word affordability, and that's their only word. They say affordability, and everyone says, oh, that must mean Trump has high prices. No, our prices are coming down tremendously from the highest prices in the history of our...
Now for this discussion, we welcome Professor Colin Chong-Yu-Keat. He's a Foreign Affairs Security and Strategy Analyst from University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, Professor, looking at this, how might Trump's characterization of as hoax this inflation concern, how do you think this will be influencing voter perception? Versus, what do you think MAGA supporters see it as economic reality versus what he says?
Well, inflation is both an economic and a psychological battle. It's not only about statistics, but it's also about consumer confidence and expectations. And Trump's messaging is all about resetting the psychology of inflation to encourage more spending, more investments, to have this wage confidence. So when people believe that prices are stabilizing, which we have seen now, and economic velocity, economic growth, economic development, and activities will improve immediately. So we have seen how price relief is also directly linked to the prices of energy. And under Trump, new administration now, in the first year, we have seen how gas prices are coming down. Energy production has been expanded, and this normalization in terms of transport and logistics to reduce pressure on local businesses. Especially in terms of regulatory burdens on producers, we have seen how the Trump administration has also slashed the accesses, of course also to bring back wealth to the country in terms of tariff measures, but also to slash all these regulatory burdens on producers. And energy prices remain the single biggest inflation multiplier across food, transport, manufacturing. And what he has done is that he has reduced gas prices, and this will in fact eventually have these ripple effects in terms of other reduction of prices in terms of groceries and all that. So we have seen how for the past couple of months now, the gas prices in the US is now below $3 per gallon, and this is one of the and this is the lowest since the end of 2021. And this is some of the achievements that I don't see any other presidencies can make in terms of how Trump's policies have been very direct and honest, and and of course also very supportive to the energy sector. And this is one of the reasons why we have seen the inflation is under control now. And of course also he has the pulses of the people, and of course not only MAGA supporters but the American people at large, to know that the sentiments of prices and all that will remain important. And this is how he has also won his presidency in the first place, to also compare the prices under Biden administration, and so how he has managed to control inflation and to bring down prices across the board, including food, and most importantly also on drug prices as well.
Right. And Professor, also, what do you think, what led for Trump to take, by shifting his affordability messaging from his usual settings of online mentioning in his Truth Social to this high energy rally? What do you think changed or motive was behind this rally?
This is to connect the messaging efficacy better to the masses, to the people, and of course markets respond faster to confidence, to rather than to rhetorics. And he knows this well. And what truly matters is not just about consumer price index and all that, but also in terms of the real purchasing power of the people, disposable incomes, household cash flow, and these have all been expanded in the first year for this year. And the single biggest factor, as I've mentioned earlier, will be on energy prices, and he has managed to reduce gas prices, and of course also to strengthen, to expand the consumer confidence, business confidence, in terms of reducing burdens on producers, on businesses, to make it easier for businesses to expand, to hire more workers, and of course also to reduce unemployment, to increase wages. And these are all the real-term indicators as to how a local or national economy will perform. And looking at both the micro and macroeconomic indicators, he has managed to stabilize the situation, unlike before, through these measures that he has put in place, not only on tariff measures but also to increase the real life disposable indicators or disposable incomes that people will have, and people feel that in the groceries. So by bringing this messaging effectiveness across the board, and by meeting the people directly, I think he has a very strategic move to ensure that it's not being diluted by all these political narratives out to reduce or to put or to paint him or to paint his actions as ineffective. So I think it's a very good measure for him to tell directly to the people, to his supporters, and to the American people at large that the economy is improving under him. Prices are under control, energy prices are coming down, and it's easier for businesses to expand and to set up new businesses. And of course also it's easier now to have disposable income, higher disposable income and purchasing power. And this is what truly matters to the real American people and to the masses at large.
With that, I would like to thank Professor for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, we stay in the region. A federal judge in New York has ruled that the U.S. Department of Justice can publicly release grand jury materials from Ghislaine Maxwell's sex trafficking investigation. U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer has said that he is ordering the release of material because of a recent law passed by Congress which requires the Justice Department to publish files related to disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein by the end of next week. In his ruling, he has also noted that the court would put in place mechanisms to protect victims from the release of materials that would identify them or otherwise invade their privacy. Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for her role in luring underage girls for Epstein, her former boyfriend, she was moved from a Florida prison to a new minimum security facility in Texas in August, after she was interviewed by Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche about Epstein. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Professor Collins Chong-Yu Keat. He's a Foreign Affairs Security and Strategy Analyst, joins us live from University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur. Thank you very much, Professor, for staying with us. Thank you. Looking at this, how might this release of these materials further expose the extent of Maxwell's and Epstein's manipulation of vulnerable minors and the systematic failures that enabled such big crime in U.S.?
Well, this is about, having institutional accountability. It's not just about criminal justice. And of course, also the case was never only about one individual. It touches on the needs also to have this comprehensive review. And of course, it touches on political elites, intelligence networks, financial facilitators, media protection frameworks and all that. So this release, is a test on whether the US system can truly investigate its own power structure within itself. In a context where public trust has been damaged, where years of all these sealed documents have fueled further theories, even conspiracy theories, accusations on the protection on the elites, and this erosion of the trust and credibility on the judicial reforms and all that. So transparency is now no longer optional. It's seen to be as essential as ever for greater legitimacy on democratic self-governance and democratic trust. And of course, also this is also about the legality framework, where the potential for new investigations on civil suits and reopenings of cases and all that. Of course, also on reputational damage to anyone named, even without formal charges. So this is a deeply layered and comprehensive framework. And this is why that this of course also he has this international dimension, and this is why it's of great importance for for the case to be to be reviewed in totality. And we've we've seen how Trump has also given his blessings to release the files before, and this expands the trust setting, and to also to put to rest all the previous accusations and theories regarding his involvement, and and eventually he sees the need for greater truth and transparency, and it's a strategic move also by him to ensure that the truth is out, and that the American people get their own fair share of transparency and truth from the government.
So to what degree could this newly disclosed evidence intensify public scrutiny of these two individuals and their networks?
Well, of course, this comes at a time of heightened political polarization, and on the heels of this, the releasing of the files of Epstein files before this, and any elite exposure would then be weaponized on different sides of the aisle, and of course, trust in institutions will also be eroded, or it can either be restored or to collapse further, depending on how this is managed. And the timing of this amplifies everything. So it's a potentially destabilizing factor, but also how the Trump administration will handle this will also give positive indicators as to how it comes clean into ensuring full transparency and restoring the rights of the American people to know the truth and to hold those accountable to justice. And so this is a great a very important timing for Trump himself and for his administration to ensure that he has the rights of the people in mind, and that he will do the right thing to ensure that those who are accountable be held to justice, and that of course also to clear those who have been accused before, and of course to let the full transparent legal framework to run its course. And I think this is also a crucial time for him also to ensure that his support and the support of the great American people will remain in place with his right measures for this case.
Hopefully that happens. And with that, I would like to thank Professor Collins for joining us today and sharing that insight with us on NewsX World. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.